Manchester United will consider reintegrating Mason Greenwood into the team. Welcome to the United Hotspot. My name is Webb. Here is an update that has just dropped coming through from The Athletic. The Athletic is probably currently the most credible source when it comes to news concerning mostly Manchester United, but I think football at large. Now, they are saying that here's the latest that has come from The Athletic that first of all, Manchester United have opened talks with Getafe to try and see whether they can keep Mason Greenwood for a further season on loan or bring him back in case they fail to agree. Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos are trying to weigh their options based on how the summer transfer window will look, how many players they will sell, how much money they will have. They also have the window open now on finding a reintegration plan. So Sir Jim Ratcliffe is saying if we do not get the money to buy some of these players we want to buy, the expensive Michael Olise and what have you, we can find a way of reintegrating Greenwood back into the starting 11. This is according to the Athletic, the latest update that is coming through. This after Getafe, were impressed with Greenwood. Obviously, he was nominated in the La Liga team of the season. Definitely, he will be there without a shadow of a doubt. And he has been an impressive player for them. And I don't even need to go back and forth about what he has done, the goals he has scored and assists he has made for them. But there was talk that they wanted to sign him on a permanent, but they could not afford to buy him. I mean, it's Getafe, a mid bottom table team largely in the La Liga. They don't have the kind of money that Man United values this player. Now, what is happening is that United seem to be not unmoved by some of the offers they are getting from teams like Real Madrid, from Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, name them. The clubs that have shown interest in Greenwood don't seem to value the player at the level Man United values him. So what United are saying, since we've got an option to keep him until 2026, currently the contract he has runs out in 2025, but we can trigger it by a further 1 year. There's that option. So we can literally have him for another 2 years. We can say he's ours for another 2 years. So they are saying if we don't get a team that values him the way we do, then we would rather either keep him on loan at Getafe as we wait to see what happens, or find ways of reintegrating him into the starting 11. So it is not completely locked out. The door is not completely shut out for the return of Greenwood, because even the player has made it clear that he would be willing to come and fight because he has got the attitude. There is no hiding, really. When it comes to the issues he's facing death calls or in the La Liga in Spain, everywhere, anywhere he goes, those the haters will always be there. So what is better? You go where you belong, and you try to fight. And the fact that most of the staff at Manchester United showed that they voted for his return, they wanted him back, and there is a new atmosphere around the club that Ineos is trying to create. He feels he can be safe at Manchester United. It can be the fortress for him, and that is why there is that possibility. That window has been kept open for a reintegration plan for him into the team. Now, that for me, I think would be the best thing to do. But it will all depend on Ineos and what they do. Remember, right now they're trying to look for people who can buy some of these nobodies we have, and if they can't raise the money they need, because remember, if we go by our base transfer budget, what United will have, the best amount they will have for their transfers, it will be peanuts. They won't be able to perhaps sign two players in the position United needs to boost. So it's a proper typical sell to buy situation. But the players we have, with the exception of the likes of Bruno, the exception of the likes of Greenwood himself, Jadon Sancho, most of our players are not as attractive. So what Ineos are saying, why not then try to find ways of bringing back your best player, add him into the team, deal with the rest, because perhaps the cost of dealing with the backlash if Greenwood returned might be a little it will be financial in terms of finances. It will be cheaper than trying to buy a replacement. For example, Michael Olise, who has been linked with Manchester United. So that window has been kept open. I feel for me that's an important update there. We will follow up on that story and see whether indeed Man United will find ways of reintegrating him. I'm sure there might be smart ways. Deal with the naysayers, shut them out, chase them out of Old Trafford. After with time, people will heal and move on, and football will indeed take center stage. Now, the other, of course, story coming through from Manchester United today is not concerning Greenwood. It is concerning the former coach, a former first team coach at Man United, Kieran McKenna, who has promoted Ipswich to the Premier League at his first time of asking. They have had back-to-back promotions now and now they're in the Premier League. He will be in the Premier League next season. It shows you that the United Academy is not only producing players like Greenwood and Kobe Maino, it's also producing some brilliant managers. Remember, football is in a transition phase where the old great managers, I think, have been phased out, and it's now a time for new young managers to come up, not the name Kieran McKenna. Also, Amadou Onana is becoming a talk of the town, and I think we'll have a video try to see to compare what perhaps the options we have. Remember, Eric Ten Hag has for a long time been interested in Frankie De Jong. He was just failed by the incompetent people who he was working with. Just that he won't say it. We know and we see it. But also the fact that the project at Man United wasn't attractive to a player like Frankie De Jong, who was so important at Barcelona. Now, with Barcelona shaking, needing money, Eric Ten Hag still wants Frankie de Jong. He feels he's an important player who can fit well into how he wants to play. So if he's going to stay, part of what he has presented to Jason Wilcox and co is having Frankie de Jong come at Man United. Now, if that were to happen, United will try to find ways of getting him because it certainly will be an expensive player. But the options now for the holding midfield position seem to be De Jong and Amadou Onana. Those are the two on the radar. I think we'll have a video try to compare the two and see who is better. Of course, I've shown my issues before, reservations before about Frankie De Jong because first of all he refused to join Manchester United for so many times. We are wasting money going up and about Europe, trying to sign him with John Matt and Richard Arnold and all. I took it personal at some point, but you see, if the manager is still here and is going to stay, and this is the player he feels is important, if he sells him and to Jason Wilcox and the team around him now, then United might be devising means of getting him. And because the money is not there, but the rebuild, United has got to get a holding midfielder. People underestimate how expensive a holding midfielder is. Like they forget how much Arsenal paid for Declan Rice. They forget how much Chelsea paid for Moises Caicedo. They forget how much money has been spent on those players in recent years. Those are currently probably the most expensive players, even more expensive than strikers, because they are important, but they are few. If you get it right, it's amazing. If you don't, you will struggle. So they know it. Clubs know. Football, works on that, and the importance and all. So that's why it's difficult to get a good holding midfielder. So they will be expensive. But the only opportunity for United is that two of these players that will be linked with in Amadou Onana and De Jong are playing for unsettled clubs who will certainly be desperate for money when it comes to the transfer window. So whereas Amadou Onana is priced at about 85 million quid, you would perhaps think that if United, because Everton have got financial issues, they need money. So if someone can raise probably 45 or thereabout or 40 million, they should be able to bend. They bought Amadou Onana for I think about 33 million quid just a few years ago. That would be, profit has given them good years. So maybe banking on that. Same with Barcelona. I mean, Frankie De Jong is their highest earner. He's the one player who can, perhaps bring them a good value. There is talk that Barcelona are interested in Bruno Fernandes now. And of course, when you mention Bruno Fernandes, reigning now Man United Player of the Month and all, it doesn't make sense to think that he can leave. But you see, if you're rebuilding a club, there are sacrifices you've got to make for the greater good of the club. The reality is, Bruno Fernandes has given Manchester United his best 4 years. He's turning 30. He's not growing any younger. Chances are, when he's 30, he will perhaps his levels will definitely drop. Is he an important player? Without a shadow of a doubt. But if you're going to if you will lose him to get a player who is younger but also important in what you're rebuilding, I think it's a sacrifice you can take. So people think that Ineos is going to come and change things by keeping things normal. Certain sacrifices will have to be made, and unfortunately, it's an unpopular view, but Bruno Fernandes can be a part of the sacrifice, and he knows it. He hinted about it himself, saying it's not completely about him. Because if I ask you, do you think Bruno's best is ahead of him or behind him as a player? He's 29, turning in September. He'll be turning 30. Do you think his best is ahead of him or is it behind him? So, do you lose if in a time like this where you need money and he's one of our most valuable players in terms of cash, but he's aging, he's clocking 30. Remember, Ineos's plan is not to cling on to players who are aging, earning a lot of money but aging. Now you certainly need more experienced players. But you see, you can keep experienced players who you know will definitely leave in a short time, but won't leave a big impact. But you can sacrifice experienced players if you know in a few years they won't be as good, but knowing that if you lose them now, you will make money out of them. So this is business that people don't look at. So there is a possibility that Man United might listen if they still want Frankie de Jong, like Erik ten Hag seems to do. There's a possibility that Man United will listen to Barcelona and try to discuss how Man United can get De Jong and Victor Roque, I think, who is also has been wanted by Man United, and try to put Bruno in the deal. And perhaps, in the view of whatever plans they might have, that could be a good deal. So don't rule out that completely. Right now, it might sound insane to even think about it, but if you think about it for the longer good, if you've decided that De Jong is good enough to fit into what Erik ten Hag wants to play, how United wants to play going forward, and they're sticking with Erik ten Hag, then it wouldn't be the craziest idea to sacrifice Bruno for De Jong and maybe uh, you know some other player. That's it. My name is Webb. This is the United Sport. Subscribe, guys. I'll catch you later.